Hello everybody! So today's video is going to be a how to care for your Daisy summer edition essentially. So in South Africa, obviously we have 9 months of the year is summer, and I would say probably from November until, I don't know, February, mid-February, it's, to put it nicely, stinking hot here. We get temperatures, between 36 and 40 degrees, and it can be very humid on top of that, and bunnies don't do really well in extreme weather, and that's cold or heat. And with it getting very hot here, I'm always nervous about leaving the bunny and like her being too hot or too cold, either way with the temperature and all of that. So I always try and keep in mind, what can I do around the house or with our routine to keep her as comfortable as possible? Now, there are a couple of things that I do, and I'll show you in this video what I do. But the biggest ones are, first of all, there's water everywhere. Second of all, I have got a fan to avoid load shedding, a chargeable one, and then I've got a little solar doohickey up there, so I charge the fan with solar so we don't have to worry about load shedding. And then the third thing is our routine is centered around the cooler hours of the day so that Baba is inside when it is stinking hot. But anyway, let's get into the video. Leave a like, subscribe, and enjoy the bunny footage. Hot, very early out here, so that's one of the things about summer is, the sunrise is quite early, and with the sunrise comes the heat. So what we do is, I basically have centered my morning routine around Daisy, and it's really nice because I'm doing my work from home and stuff. Even over Christmas and all of that jazz, I'm still doing work, but my work schedule is very flexible anyway. So what I tend to do is I will let Daisy out early morning and early evening. So about 6 o'clock ish p.m. it gets it's still light, it gets really nice and cool. I'll let her out to play, and early morning I stand up at about 3:30 a.m. so maybe by like 5-6 it's light enough that Daisy will then come outside and play. I let her play outside for as long as she wants, relatively, because of work and all that jazz. So she plays outside. I try and make sure she gets at least 45 minutes to an hour outside, playing around, hopping around, all of that nice stuff, because when I'm not here she goes in her housey, and then when I am here she just plays inside. And we've got so many toys inside. I've shown you, I'll link I'll put an info card up for the video. But yeah, Daisy has so many inside toys, and so once she comes in I make sure that I stimulate her throughout the day with her multiple different toys, and I get her to engage that way so that she feels like she's at least getting some of her energy out that way. And yeah, that's how I really avoid the heat. I keep her inside. Obviously I've discussed this before as well in another video. Daisy is an inside bunny, and I am very biased, and I will say that people who keep their bunnies outside, you are running a lot of risks. And also people who keep their bunnies outside in an uncovered shelter where they are exposed to heat, cold, wind, rain, whatever, I also don't agree with that kind of housing. Yeah, that's just personal opinion. And Daisy is an inside bunny, so that solves a lot of the issues in terms of that kind of thing. Okay, and then the last thing that we do in the summer, and this is super controversial because people don't like to bath their bunnies, and I like to say that living where I live, I definitely can have that as an exception, because where I live it is fiery hot, and if I bath Daisy, she is not wet long enough for her to get hypothermia. Literally, I bath her on the hottest days of the year, where it is like 38 degrees Celsius, that creature of mine is dry in like 20 minutes. It's hilarious, and it's something that I'm very happy to like do, because then I at least know that she's clean, and also I can help her with her coat when she sheds from her winter to her spring coat and spring to summer, etc, etc. So a bath is very much something that we use in this house, and I'll bath her. I do bath my bunny, but I do it properly. Obviously, I'm not silly. I don't bath her in winter and autumn when it's cold and she can't dry. I'm not silly. And she likes it. She's used to it. Been doing it to her since she was a little kid, and she was like, I think I brought her home when she was maybe like 11 weeks old, after we'd hand raised them at my friend's place. That also is covered in that video that I linked. But anyway, so she's been getting baths for a long time. But what I do is, because she is used to being wet, what I will do is I will sit her in the sink, and I will take the water and I'll run it on my hand and get my hand wet. And like we would wet the back of our hair, or maybe take a wet washcloth and pop it on the back of our neck or on our foreheads, I will wet Daisy's ears. Now, for those of you who don't know, bunny's temperature is usually indicated and controlled by how cool their ears are. And so if I can feel that her ears are very, very hot, what I will do is I will take some water on my wet hand, and I will just wet the fur on the back of her ears, and it cools her down, and I can immediately see on her, and I sometimes wet around her neck. She lets me touch around her neck, so and I'll sometimes wet around her neck, and then you can see she's like cold, I'm cool, like I can see the relief on her little face. So it's a controversial thing, and I wouldn't recommend doing it if you didn't live where I live. So definitely like a South African bunny mom tip. Like, please don't do this if you live in America or Canada or something like that. Not a good plan. But yeah, that's what I do for her in terms of getting her wet to cool her down. What I'm going to discuss is the fan. I will do my best to link it in the description for those of you who are interested on Takealot. That's where I got it. It wasn't too expensive. I think it was $2.59, so it was really good. And it's got good battery life. And the second thing is that it is chargeable, so it's got a battery. So we don't have to worry about load shedding, which is really, really good. For those of you who are not South African, load shedding is when the power grid is so overwhelmed by the amount of power being drawn or used that they switch off certain areas access to electricity for a certain number of hours according to a scale that they've created. That means that sometimes we go without electricity, and I don't necessarily want to have a problem where we are both hot in the house. So here's the fan. Fabulous. Here's the fan unfolded. It's really nice. I just place it on Daisy's sideboard, which I'll insert footage of now. And I usually leave it on. So it's got 3 speeds, you can see. So I usually just leave it on the lowest speed so that the battery can last the longest amount of time possible. And then, it circulates the air quite well, and it cools the room down wherever Daisy is. I even use it for me at night when we go to bed. Then I keep the bedroom nice and cool for her. Even though the windows are open, the air just doesn't circulate well. So that way I know she's always taken care of. And what's nice is if you have the right cord, I've got 2 power banks that I also charge with the solar doohickey in the corner. And then you can plug it in on a battery and have it go all night. So it really is a very versatile little tool. Caring for our bunny in the summer. There is water everywhere. I make sure that I change out Daisy's water every day or so, day and a half. It also depends on work. I don't always get the chance in the morning, but I always make sure to check that she has enough water if I can't change it. And usually there is enough water. I just like her to have fresh water to encourage her to drink as much as possible. So there is a lot of water bowls everywhere. I fill them up with fridge water. Don't come for me, I love my baby. I'm extra with my baby, so I put fridge water in all of her bowls. And then if I'm going out to work and I'm leaving her in the house, I will put ice in the water just to keep it colder for longer. And then also what I do diet wise is I put a lot of lettuce in her bowls when it gets very hot, because unfortunately with Bubba being a chewer, I can't get water fountains, and so because I don't know how much water she drinks, and it is offered to her everywhere, I do like to put a lot of lettuce in Daisy's bowls because of the high water content, and then I know that my baby is hydrated and taken care of. And I also put those freshy bowls everywhere that there is water as well, so at least I know when I come home and I've seen, okay, her bowls in her house here are empty, she's gotten her lettuce in, she feels fine, then I'm good.